This is the story of how one of Hollywood's highest paid actors earned over $200 million across a 4-decade career, built a peak net worth of $150 million, and then watched nearly all of it vanish. What followed was $14 million in IRS tax liens, the forced liquidation of more than a dozen properties, and a bitter lawsuit with his own business manager. Nicolas Cage's financial collapse wasn't bad luck or market forces alone. The root cause was compulsive real estate speculation, outlandish spending on castles and yachts and exotic animals, and a structural problem his own business manager would later describe in court documents. Cage earned $20 million per film, but needed $30 million a year just to keep his lifestyle afloat. What makes this story worth telling isn't the collapse alone, it's what came after. Cage refused to file for bankruptcy and instead spent 13 years grinding through 57 films to pay back every dollar he owed. Somewhere along the way, he accidentally reinvented himself as one of American cinema's most fascinating figures. From $5,000 to the 20 million club. Nicholas Kim Coppola entered the world on January 7, 1964, and changed his surname specifically to put distance between himself and his famous uncle, director Francis Ford Coppola. Making it on his own terms mattered to him. Valley Girl in 1983 paid him just $5,000 for his breakout role, and 5 years later, Vampire's Kiss brought in $40,000. Modest sums, but a foundation was forming. The trajectory shifted dramatically in 1995 when he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas. Here's a detail that still surprises people. Cage never received his promised $100,000 fee for that film. Director Mike Figgis confirmed as much on the Hollywood Reporter podcast in October 2022, and Cage himself acknowledged it at SXSW in 2024. An Oscar-winning performance he was never compensated for. That Oscar opened doors anyway. After signing with CAA and delivering his action trifecta of The Rock in 1996, Con Air in 1997, and Face Slash Off also in 1997, his per-film salary climbed fast. $4 million came from The Rock, $6 million from Face Off, and by Snake Eyes in 1998, he commanded $16 million per picture. Gone in 60 Seconds arrived in 2000 and pushed Nicolas Cage into the exclusive $20 million club, putting him alongside Tom Cruise, Will Smith, and Jim Carrey at Hollywood's highest tier. Between 2000 and 2007, $20 million flowed in for Gone in 60 Seconds, Wind Talkers, and National Treasure, while Ghost Rider in 2007 brought somewhere between 12 and 20 million. Celebrity net worth puts his annual earnings during this period at approximately $40 million, which adjusts to roughly $80 million in today's money. Collectively, his films pulled in over $6.4 billion worldwide, with the National Treasure franchise alone generating approximately $805 million. At the height of his earning power, Nicolas Cage's net worth peaked at an estimated $150 million. One of the biggest movie stars on the planet, and he spent money like he believed that would never change. 15 residences and a squadron of Rolls-Royces. The scale of spending bordered on incomprehensible. At his peak, Nicolas Cage owned 15 personal residences, approximately 50 cars and 30 motorcycles, 4 yachts, a Gulfstream jet, and a private island in the Bahamas. When his former business manager Samuel Levin filed a countersuit in November 2009, the court documents catalogued the damage with precision. During 2007 alone, Cage purchased 3 additional residences totaling over $33 million, 22 automobiles including 9 Rolls-Royces, 12 purchases of expensive jewelry, and 47 artworks and exotic items. The real estate empire stretched across 3 continents. New Orleans became home to the LaLaurie Mansion, one of America's most haunted houses, purchased in April 2007 for $3.45 million. The Garden District property at 2523 Prytania Street had previously belonged to novelist Anne Rice and cost approximately $3.45 million in 2004. Castles appealed to him too. Schloss Niedstein, a 16th century Bavarian castle, came into his possession in 2006 for $2.3 million during what Cage described as a personal Holy Grail quest. Midford Castle near Bath, England, an 18th century Gothic structure, cost approximately $10 million in 2007. Grey Craig, a 26-acre Rhode Island estate featuring 24,000 square feet and 12 bedrooms, sold to him in August 2007 for $15.7 million. The Bel Air Mansion at 363 Copa de Oro Road had belonged to Dean Martin and then Tom Jones before Cage bought it in 1998 for $6.5 million, and he would later leverage it with over $17 million in loans. A Las Vegas mansion ran $8.5 million in 2006. A Newport Beach waterfront home cost $25 million in 2005, and the Leaf Cay Island in the Bahamas added another $3 million. Museum-quality vehicles filled his car collection, including a 1971 Lamborghini Miura SVJ, one of only 4 ever built and formerly owned by the Shah of Iran, which went to him at a 1997 Geneva auction for between $446,000 and $490,000. A Ferrari Enzo cost approximately $670,000 to $1 million, and a 1938 Bugatti Type 57C Adelante, valued at approximately $2 million, rounded out the collection. And that's when things got stranger. At an IM Chait auction in 2007, Cage paid $276,000 for a 67-million-year-old Tarbosaurus bataar skull after outbidding Leonardo DiCaprio. In 2014, Homeland Security informed him the skull had been stolen from Mongolia's Gobi Desert, and he voluntarily surrendered it in 2015 without receiving a refund. Action Comics #1, Superman's first appearance, cost him approximately $150,000 in 1997. $276,000 went to a pair of albino king cobras named Moby and Sheba in 2005, which he kept behind computer-locked doors with bulletproof glass and anti-venom mounted on the wall. A 2-headed snake named Harvey ran $80,000. An octopus in the mid-1980s cost $150,000. His primary yacht, the Sarita, ran an estimated $20 million and featured 12 master bedrooms, a jacuzzi, and an onboard restaurant. The Gulfstream jet carried a similar $20 million price tag. He also purchased a meteorite authenticated by NASA as originating from Mars for $25,000. None of this spending could sustain itself, and the IRS was watching. The IRS comes calling. Financial reckoning arrived in waves rather than all at once. September 2008 brought the first tremor when the IRS settled a dispute over $3.3 million in personal expenses, including limousines, meals, gifts, and Gulfstream jet costs that had been improperly deducted as business expenses for tax years 2002 through 2004. The agency originally demanded $1.8 million, and Cage settled for $666,000. That dispute was just a preview. July 14, 2009 delivered the real blow when the IRS filed a federal tax lien of $6,257,000 for unpaid 2007 income taxes. Additional liens totaling $360,000 covered underpayments for 2002, 2003, and 2004, and a subsequent lien of $6.7 million hit for 2008 taxes. The combined IRS debt reached approximately $14 million. Cage confirmed the figure publicly in a statement to People magazine in early 2010. Over the course of my career, I have paid at least $70 million in taxes, and unfortunately, due to a recent legal situation, another approximate $14 million is owed to the IRS. The IRS wasn't the only creditor closing in. Regions Bank held $5.5 million in unpaid mortgage debt on the 2 New Orleans properties. East West Bank alleged Cage owed $2 million for a 2009 loan. The city of New Orleans was owed $151,000 in unpaid property taxes. The Bel Air mansion carried over $17 million in secured loans against an original $6.5 million purchase price. Nicolas Cage was drowning in debt, and he needed someone to hold responsible. Cage versus Levin, the business manager showdown. October 16, 2009 brought a $20 million lawsuit against his former business manager, Samuel J. Levin, filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court with celebrity attorney Marty Singer representing Cage. Samuel Levin was a licensed CPA who ran Levin and Company Management Incorporated in Los Angeles and had managed Cage's finances from 2001 until his firing in 2008. The lawsuit alleged fraud, negligence, and recklessness, claiming Levin lined his pockets with several $million in business management fees while sending Cage down a path toward financial ruin. According to the filing, Levin placed him in numerous highly speculative and risky real estate investments, failed to pay taxes when due, concealed his true financial condition, and overextended his lines of credit with banks. And that's when the story split into two versions, because Samuel Levin fired back hard. November 12, 2009, brought a countersuit painting a radically different picture, seeking $129,000 in unpaid fees while telling the other side of the story. According to Levin's filing, Cage arrived in 2001 already deeply in debt because he had already squandered tens of millions of dollars. Levin claimed he repeatedly warned Coppola that he was living beyond his means and described the folly of several entertainers who compulsively overspent their way into bankruptcy, warning Cage it could happen to you. The countersuit documented alleged advice against buying castles in England and Bavaria, against buying a Gulfstream jet, against owning what Levin called a flotilla of yachts and a squadron of Rolls-Royces. Levin claimed Cage would need to earn $30 million a year just to sustain his lifestyle, and urged him to maintain a $10 million cash cushion. Cage's attorney, Marty Singer, dismissed the claims as absurd and delivered the lawsuit's most memorable line: "You're a business manager, you need to say no." That quote cuts to the heart of the entire saga. Who bears responsibility when a client refuses to listen? August 30th, 2010, brought the dismissal of both lawsuits with confidential settlement terms. NBCDFW noted the settlement likely spares Cage from having more embarrassing revelations about his alleged reckless ways with money become part of the public record. Samuel Levin joined RBZ, later acquired by Armanino LLP, where he continues to manage celebrity clients including John Legend, Chrissy Teigen, and Hailey Bieber. But while the lawyers battled, the liquidation had already begun. The liquidation. Between 2008 and 2012, one of the most dramatic celebrity liquidations in modern history unfolded. Nearly every major property sold at a steep loss, and many went through foreclosure. The LaLaurie mansion, purchased for $3.45 million, entered foreclosure in November 2009 and sold at auction for $2.3 million, a loss of approximately $1.15 million. The Garden District home went through foreclosure the same month and sold for $2.2 million. $8.5 million bought the Las Vegas mansion in September 2006, but foreclosure brought only $4.95 million back, a $3.55 million loss. $9.5 million. That's what the Rhode Island estate cost him. Purchased in August 2007 for $15.7 million and sold in 2011 for $6.2 million. That single property represented 59% of the purchase price vanishing. Midford Castle, purchased for approximately $10 million in 2007, sold in 2009 for roughly $4.5 million, a loss exceeding $5 million. The Bel Air mansion, listed in September 2007 at $35 million, Finally sold in November 2010 for $10.5 million after a foreclosure auction on April 7th. 2010 attracted 0 bidders at a $10.4 million minimum. November 12, 2009 was particularly brutal. Both New Orleans properties were auctioned in the lobby of Orleans Parish Civil District Court, with Regions Bank as the sole bidder, paying $4.5 million for both, 2/3 of their $6.75 million appraised value. Cage didn't attend, and no representative appeared on his behalf. The city collected $151,000 in back property taxes from the proceeds. One transaction went the other way. The Newport Beach waterfront home sold in January 2008 for $35 million after a $25 million purchase, producing a $10 million profit that set an Orange County record. The Action Comics #1, stolen from his home in 2000, turned up in 2011 in a San Fernando Valley storage locker and sold at auction for $2.16 million, a record at the time. Levin's countersuit documented that he had already orchestrated the sale of a $1.6 million comic book collection and a dozen automobiles before his firing. Conservative estimates put property losses alone at $19 to $22 million. Total financial damage from peak to trough likely exceeded $30 to $40 million. 13 years of grinding. The recovery strategy Cage adopted was simple in concept and brutal in execution. Never file for bankruptcy and accept every job that came along. His words to the New York Times in August 2019 captured it. One thing I wasn't going to do was file for bankruptcy. I had this pride thing where I wanted to work my way through anything, which was both good and bad. Approximately 57 films between 2009 and 2025 followed, averaging 3 to 4 per year, with some years hitting 5 or 6. Over 25 of these went directly to video or video on demand, typically paying $1 to $1.5 million per film, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Las Vegas became his primary residence, eliminating state income tax from his expenses. His description to GQ magazine in March 2022 painted the picture. "I've got all these creditors and the IRS, and I'm spending $20,000 a month trying to keep my mother out of a mental institution, and I can't. It was just all happening at once." April 2012 brought the payment of $6.25 million toward the 2007 tax lien, prompting the IRS to release it. Another $600,000 went toward remaining debt by late 2012. According to his GQ interview, Cage finished paying off all debts around late 2020, marking the end of a 13-year financial ordeal. His 60 Minutes appearance in April 2023 confirmed everything. "I was overinvested in real estate, the real estate market crashed, and I couldn't get out in time. I paid them all back. I never filed for bankruptcy." When Rolling Stone asked about his prolific video-on-demand output in April 2022, he pushed back. "Anyone that says straight-to-video in this age is a dinosaur. Everything is streaming now." To GQ, he reflected, "When I was doing 4 movies a year, back to back to back, I still had to find something in them to be able to give it my all. They didn't work, all of them. Some of them were terrific, like Mandy, but I never phoned it in." The Renaissance. Pig in 2021 marked the beginning of the critical renaissance, a $3 million independent film that generated widespread Oscar buzz. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent followed in 2022 with a $7 million salary, and Dream Scenario arrived in 2023 from A24, $128 million worldwide. That's what Longlegs earned in 2024, a horror film made on a budget of less than $10 million that became Neon's highest-grossing domestic release, surpassing Parasite. Upcoming projects include Spider Noir for MGM+ and Prime Video, Madden about the football legend, Lords of War as a sequel to Lord of War, Gambino featuring Cage as mob boss Carlo Gambino, and Fortitude reuniting him with Con Air director Simon West. Current net worth estimates land between $25 and $40 million, with Celebrity Net Worth, Parade, and Finance Monthly all citing $40 million as of 2025 to 2026. August 2024 brought the purchase of a $10.5 million Malibu beachfront mansion, and March 2026 added a $6.5 million condo on Central Park South in New York City. These acquisitions signal genuine financial recovery, careful investments this time rather than reckless speculation. Nicolas Cage's financial saga works as a cautionary tale about celebrity excess, but it's more complicated than that. The $14 million IRS crisis was the final result of a structural problem where a man earning $20 million per film needed $30 million a year just to sustain his lifestyle, according to his own business manager's court filings. The 2008 real estate crash didn't cause the crisis. It detonated a bomb that had been building for years through leveraged speculation, and what Levin's countersuit called Gatsby-scale parties. What sets Cage's story apart is how it ended. Bankruptcy would have been the rational choice, but he refused it and instead accepted the reputational cost of dozens of video-on-demand films to honor his debts. The 13-year grind produced an unlikely creative dividend. Willingness to take any role led him to Mandy, Pig, and Longlegs, films that would never have existed in a career managed by conventional Hollywood strategy. The man who lost $150 million rebuilt it to $40 million through sheer volume of work, and in doing so, reinvented himself as one of American cinema's most fascinating figures. Thank you for watching.